and welcome for today's session of BYOB. This particular mental fitness series is an initiative by Wisdom Seed in addressing issues which are into our real world, but we are not addressing it. Most of the topics are either tabooed or more sensitive to be discussed, or maybe very little known of, which has a direct impact on our life. But where we are trying to make this as an effort as a part of a discussion series, which is going to be a continuous series where we are going to help minds to explore topics which are really a pain area into today's maybe personal life or a corporate realm. And this series is all about that. So, whoever has joined in, I welcome them to this particular session, and whoever is going to listen to this particular recording in future, I really want to thank you that you are making an effort and listening to this particular podcast. So, let's get into the session right away. So, I just want to start with one of the situation that you can imagine, and imagine that you are standing on a busy street and there is an accident wherein you are able to see lot many people getting injured. There is a substantial amount of people standing around, and in this particular incidents, rather than helping, most of the people are pulling out their phones and capturing the moment. Now, I started with an imagination, but this is a grim reality of last week's Jaipur accident on a highway, which has actually killed and claimed life of 40 people, and still there are more people who are injured, and they are recovering from it. And we bless them a fast recovery. We pray for them. And what actually shook me more was the incidents about how how insensitive we have become in the age of social media, where and tendency that is not of helping a person but to remove your phone, take out your phone and document it. Why we are approaching, or why we are taking this as a first step towards helping other people, because I know there are a lot of psychological reasons that are underplaying this particular behavior of a crowd mentality that is there, and we are going to talk about those. And the topic itself, the voyeurism, is a topic which I felt like to be taken. This word is actually traditionally associated with gaining pleasure from secretively watching others into intimate what I can say, watching other people getting intimate and deriving pleasure out of it, and definitely that is there. But if you see in modern era today, voyeuristic tendency extend beyond that narrow space of only watching people doing intimate thing or of a sexual content. But what I felt like it include a habitual observation of others' life, often fueled by technology and social media, because those screen has actually made us characteristic of voyeuristic behavior. And that, let me tell you, voyeuristic behaviors are antisocial behaviors or more insensitive so behavior that are there into our society, and which are part of mental illness, I would say. It is nothing healthy about having an voyeuristic tendency right now, when in wherein the incidents of Jaipur has spoken out loud more than how this tendency is becoming into a mental illness. So, to understand a little bit more about the characteristic of voyeurism, I would like to pull out certain kind of characteristics that are there. So, a person who have this tendency is has a very a high sense of passivity. So, passivity is like whenever you observe someone, you don't interact or engage with them. You usually take them as an object, or the objectification is more. So the secondly is like the tendency or the characteristic of voyeurism tendency or behavior is that you would objectify the person who you are observing. So if you take example of, can take example of watching explicit content on social media, and then you won't go back to the background why that particular person is involved into the such kind of activity. It might be certain kind of uh, you know uh, social approval kind of a scenario, or maybe they are pushed into this particular areas. Like if you go on explicit and adult content site, whatever you see are more dramatized, more forceful, and more exploitative than a person who is involved with their own will and, happiness. Because I think that is one thing that we have to really consider about. So when you looked and when we voyeuristic tendency are being developed by the way we consume our social media content, because that screen actually is a kind of a defense mechanism or an disassociation mechanism from a person, real person, and make it as an object of curiosity and entertainment rather than an individual with an agency or feelings or rights. So that is one thing. The third one I would like to talk about the characteristic of heuristic is secrecy. So secrecy is the subject often unaware of observed. So I think the content that has been pulled or pushed on social media without understanding the repercussions, and all of a sudden we are virtually stalking our celebrities or fitness model or glamour model or even anybody we are inspired to or aspires to, and the content creator and influencer are under a huge pressure of pushing contents which is more shocking, dramatizing, and sensationalizing rather than making it more authentic. Most of them are there because that is how the traction, the view, and likability and engagement is being derived. So I think that is one thing, and this all activities where you have passivity, objectifying of the people who are on the screen or women especially, this is where gratification is also derived from. So deriving pleasure and entertainment or validation from the act of observation. Now we are actually celebrating observation more than acting right now. So that is again enfueling the voyeurism that is there, what we are talking about today's topic. So, what are the psychological underpinning issues of voyeuristic tendency? When I say voyeuristic tendency, is like watching and observing. It might be entertainment, can be pain, it can be an harsh event like the event wherein the person who was on blaze due to accidental fire was trying to reach out with his hand. He was trying to reach out and asking them for help. He was not able to speak because definitely he was on burning and blazing. He was going under a tormenting pain. But the crowd, instead of helping him, just pulled out the phone. Not everybody, but I think most of them. I think if they have worked with as a team and being very mindful at a point of time, he might have been saved, or a lot many people might have been saved in this particular process of getting that particular video documented. So, what I think the psychological underpinning issue of voyeurism is, as a human being, we have this curiosity. Okay. Now, what is this curiosity? Is we're naturally curious about what things are happening, especially about things that are deemed private or tabooed. Okay. So socially, which are not accepted, like socially, we don't see those kind of things, which are very dramatic and very sensationalizing or shocking. We tend to have, or we have a curiosity of it by nature, and usually the forbidden nature of certain behaviors or information heighten these appeals. So there is an appeal to this particular part, and our brain actually register it as more important than any other topic, and we get engaged and involved on those particular part. So now when these particular things are happening in voyeuristic part, it is like we are wired for that and we hook for that. But if we are doing it mindlessly, then it becomes a kind of an habit and it becomes a different part of time. So now what is happening because of voyeurism, apart from being unpresent and unhelpful in certain situation, we are also getting into a mental issue or psychological issue that is underpinning voyeurism is social comparison. We are hyper social comparison. We have this upward social comparison with our celebrities, our aspiring models or influencers on social media, and try to mimic their lifestyle, try to mimic their lifestyle in terms of materialism, not in terms of qualitative. Very few of them do it, but I think the quickest and the easiest way to get associated with any celebrity that is there is just to purchase the way they dress, the cars, the brand that they associate with, and whichever product they are utilizing. So one of the cases that was there, that a famous product that is there with millennials right now is the, I think, the Datsun hair dryer, and that is like 50,000 rupees per piece. And let's say people who are like earning like millennials who are earning like 25,000, 30,000 per month are really aspired to go get those particular Datsun hair dryer. And it is just a chic kind of a product which celebrity use because they are into that profession of showbiz. They need those kind of equipment, but not a common person who is an executive to a firm or a lawyer or consultant. They don't require to be that. If they invest that 50,000 to developing them skill, definitely that would be a kind of an legitimate kind of a purchase. But when it comes to social comparison, and we feel that we are not enough, we have to associate with somebody else. So people are comparing themselves to others, and definitely that is more about upward comparison, not the downward comparison, and that is pretty much what I can say, anxiety creating, because whenever you do an upward comparison, you will always find yourself not enough. And whatever resources that you have, not enough. If you compare anybody who is below you, definitely you would be more grateful and tend to enjoy. So this is what the psychological part is, that social comparison is uprise due to social media. That is also making us more glued to our screen, that what are the latest trend, and the fast fashion trends that are coming up, the micro fashion trends that are coming up, that is also very devastating on personal as well as environmental level. So the third thing that psychologically we are drawn to voyeurism is because of the dopamine reward that is involved into it, because I think that is very much overplayed, that why dopamine is such a kind of thing, because observing somebody which has more of a shocking and dramatic and sensational value, maybe it is a news reel, stories, thumbnails, so clickbaiting and all those things create a kind of a sensational, then we have shocking or dramatic appeal to ourselves and maybe to our own interest. We glue to that particular screen, we observe it towards it, and that creates a lot of dopamine in our systems, and this is where it makes very difficult for us to lose the habit. And second, and coming up to the next is the emotional part that is underpinning voyeurism is emotional distance. Watching others on screen creates a psychological buffer. What happens when you are looking at some other person? And I think when a person draws a screen, draws a phone on a tense situation, then when where their engagement and involvement and help was required, that also work as a defense mechanism. Why I'm saying this? Because under stress, you will always go to the habit that you have of distracting yourself. So even if you have if even if you have observed yourself and you have found yourself bored, maybe under stress, you pull up your phone to get that particular dopamine hit to feel better, because under stress you are stress hormones are there, and dopamine is a kind of a relieving and happy hormones, not a happy but a tense, but a different from a stress hormone. It gives you relief. So this is where we are actually habituating ourselves to a habit of a drug addict, which is running to the comfort drug that is there. So that is also creating an emotional distance, because that is reducing empathy. And a latest research that has been by metadata that was there. And there was a research done by Harvard University psychological department, which goes back and which talks about, they have interviewed almost 2000 students from year 2009 to 2010. And beyond that, the empathy has been reduced by 40% by the exposure of social media, which was really ramping up. And I think it has really gone worsen as we are entering into 2024, wherein social media has become a daily staple for our content consumption. So that is like, what we can see about the empathy that we have. And I think that is far more evident into Jaipur's accident and lot many incidents wherein we just pull up the phone and start recording an event rather than helping people. So fear of missing out is also one thing that is really cooking, or this is really encouraging people to stay on their phones. The desire to stay informed about others and the environment that is there. Any shocking, dramatic, and sensational event happens, they usually get to glue to their phones and rather watching. They choose to watch rather than engaging in into a meaningful interaction. So that is also one thing. So, if you see an example of social media voyeuristic behavior, you would always see that social media platform has become the biggest, peddler of how this behavior is going to seep into our daily personalities. And you can see there are a lot of live streams and stories that are put onto social media. There are almost like 10,000 reels that have been uploaded onto YouTube per minute, and there are like thousands of posts that are onto Instagram. So there's a lot of content, and I think the influencers and the media and the company who want to make the buzz would always keep their content under this value of shock, dramatization, or sensationalization. So that is what they would be always targeting, because those are the emotion of fear, anxiety, greed, all those things. Those would always attract a lot of eyeballs. So they would always have a content which has that kind of an appeal. So secondly is like the celebrity culture that is there on social media. We are micro celebrities in our own sphere and all our own world, a little world of social media. We tend to post up pictures. We tend to go on holidays which we can't afford, or products which we can't afford. But we make that stretch to just to look like a celebrity. And then also, and this is actually the celebrity culture is been adapted by how we are exposed to their lives, because there is a lot of photos that are put in through paparazzis, photos, interviews, and personal posts with celebrity put in, because that is their job. We can't blame them. They have their right for self-expression and doing business, so we can't say that is wrong. This is what they're doing. But if we are getting influenced by that, I get influenced for a proper, we get influenced for the value system rather than the product and services that they're promoting. You can utilize which is beneficial, but not over consumption. Then the reality TV and influential culture. Now, the first tendency that we talk about, that human beings are curious what is happening around, what are happening with people. So this is where they are actually getting involved into reality TV. The biggest pioneer in this particular sphere is Big Boss and Keeping Up with the Kardashians. So this is like, I think, the tendency of curiosity of what is happening in other people's life, or what is happening with celebrities, and getting into that intimate and more personalized experience and life events. These shows have actually given us a kind of this has actually thrive on public interest in private lives of their celebrities and how other people react to. So influencer monetize this personal life. So influencer like celebrities and micro celebrities are actually personal or monetizing this personal life, feeding voyeurism tendency in their audience. So now, because of this particular shock value, dramatization, and sensationalization, they are making our the tendency of human brain of curiosity and making us more glued to our phones. So now there is another thing that is lurking behaviors. Now, what is lurking is like, browsing other people's profiles, photos, or videos without leaving any interaction, such as likes or comments. So people are also there. We have a lot of YouTubers, including me, when I'm putting on a content. There is a lot of disengagement. People are just watching it, maybe liking it, but not giving an interaction. They are not pulling themselves into the content a little bit more deeper than they are looking at a very shallow level. And this is where there is a lurking behavior. We try to skip one video to another video just without establishing any kind of value driven from that, or any learning driven from that, just that we are looking at that content as just to entertain us. Even self-help has become an entertaining aspect rather than something that you can take and you can practice on. So, what are the consequences of voyeuristic tendency? So, on an individual level, erosion of empathy is the biggest one, because watching suffering or drama from a distance can desensitize individual to others' pain. That is really happening, because I can give you one incident. The kind of gore and graphic movies and web series have become today from the past because of advancement into technology in terms of CGIs and computer graphics, and AI is going to come into picture and play. We are able to derive a very what I can say, immersive kind of experience to all visual that is there. VR coming in, virtual reality coming in, that is going to give you more visceral kind of an experience of everything that you want to watch on screen. And that is really going to mess up with our identification of reality and what is on real. So this is the distinction between that, because of which I think we are exposed more to shocking content, sensationalization content, and more about provoking content than a content which has a really set of value that is there. And this is actually making an erosion of empathy, because uh, if you are being overstimulated from fear, disgust, or let's say empathy or sympathy, you are going to feel numb at the end. So even if it is happening in reality, I think that won't shook you to that level of creating an empathy for other person's pain. So this is very evident. There has been a lot of cases wherein young teenagers who are, or teenagers who have been exposed to a lot of violent game, has end up doing the same kind of violence which they have been practicing into their video games or virtual worlds in real world. So there are a lot of been GTA's kind of evident incidents wherein teenagers involved into reckless driving, killing a lot of people, going to malls, shooting up. So there are a lot of school shootouts which happens, and I think this is where the kind of technology and the immersiveness, the more you get involved into it, the more you contemplate on that, I think that becomes a part of your behavior. So this is also on an individual level a consequence of voyeuristic tendency that is there. So loss of privacy is something that is there. The normalization of sharing personal details diminish the value of privacy. I still believe that talking about your salary, uh, talking about your age for a woman, there were certain boundaries or certain social norms which we used to follow in 20 to 25 years back, and now that has totally diminished because of social media. We willingly are putting those particular content which are really sensitive, like our information, where we live, our home photos, our children's photos, our spouse photographs. So now if I want to really get a really zest and really a slice of your entire life, and I'm guilty as charged, I mean also doing it. But I think with the coming new year, I think that is some of the discipline that I want to follow, that I have to have a certain privacy when it comes to family members and my personal life. So that is something that you can also practice, because privacy, loss of privacy actually makes you very much susceptible to the kind of danger that is there, because of cyber crime is on rising, and there are a lot of cases that are coming in. So even social isolation is one of the things, because I think that actually couples up with the erosion of empathy. Because if you don't have an empathy with the people, you would definitely don't have the trust, don't have that kind of connection, and the result would be isolation would be happening. And that's why the loneliness in today's world is really ramping up. We don't have a meaningful connection. We are in habit of swiping people as well on our life, because what we are doing on screen, like swiping people, getting from if the person is not that stimulating, if the conversation is not that much engaging and stimulating, and he or she is not entertaining you, the next thing that you will do is you're going to pull up a phone and you're going to get involved into that screen, that dopamine creating machine, or I would say a slot machine, a gambling slot machine. So that is there. So on this is one individual, but when it comes to society, as society is a combination of all these individuals who are facing this kind of mental illness or insensitivity, are going to form a group. And it is very you know it is very normalized. Now we are normalizing exploitation as a group, as a society. you know Profiting from others private moment, especially in crisis, becomes an isolated, societally accepted, like, okay, this was something that was there, she deserve it or he deserve it. I think there is a darker side to sharing everything on social media and on other things. And I think somewhere we have to draw a line, because there are a lot of instances where exploitation, like if you go on the adult content website, are really exploitative. The only thing that we can control is not punishing, or not punishing, I would say, because the content would be there. Adult side would find it their way by, let it be VPN, let it be recorded content, let it be files that are transferred to Bluetooth, no matter how much restriction you put onto website, they would change their website name, and all of the things are there. There will always be a loophole. But I think once you create an awareness and you don't demand for it, it is actually going to kill it that way. The demand and supply cycle really is there when it comes to exploitation. So, as a society, are we normalizing exploitation? It is not only adult side; it is also the content. And if you see Instagram, YouTube, any social media of short content are right now they are becoming a small version or distill, not a distill, but a diluted version of a pornographic material. So that is also true. As a society, we are reduce intervention. People are focusing on observing rather than acting in emergency. That is one of the things as a society. Then again, that is normalized because of the incidents. And I'm not saying it just out of the content that I have to say. I'm just looking at the incidents that are happening, and you would see all the incidents that are happening, which are there. People draw out their mobile phones to record it. Now, you would say that is a good thing because it get documented. Yes, one person can document, rest of them can help, right? So let's say that it is documented, right? We are documenting that particular instance, but if in that scenario one can document, rest of them can help. That is one thing that I can say. An increased surveillance culture, a constant observation leads to a social society where privacy is rare. So I think there are a lot of privacy issues that are there, and why it has happened because it is normalized. It is normalized to have surveillance everywhere on the fear value of being on the fear value of safety. So now that is also because but we are doing it over surveillance. We are doing it over. Everything is being done over because we are uh, the empathy is being eroded. That is why this kind of behavior is there. So now, why why technology or how technology amplifies voyeuristic tendency? Why it is happening so much? And it is very much. There are three main part to it. It is the ease of access that is there because smartphone and social media make private lives easily viewable for everybody. I think we have to start utilizing the Instagram private circle or close friend circles when we are sharing our content, and we will know that who are there who are watching this content, and that would really give you a kind of an what I can say, at least a little bit of agency when it comes to content sharing. Second thing is algorithmic reinforcement. So platform promote sensational or personal content, creating a feedback loop of voyeurism. So what is happening that a lot of people are there are on Instagram there are a lot of channels and profile handles which actually peddle pornographic, a hardcore, explicit pornographic material, disguising it at first 20 second as a normal reel, and then it shift back to pornographic material. And some people know those particular fact. Now, how I know this because this is what the research has been shown that there are a lot of to create sensationalization and getting that particular traffic, people are putting pornographic, and the algorithm, the AI is also not able to detect because first 20 second the reel works in a normal one, and then it switched to a pornographic explicit material. So that is where algorithmic reinforcement is also there. There is a lot many AI that has to develop that has to calculate the skin to cloth ratio. I think that is one thing that can AI detect, and that was invented for um, pedophile back into 80, I think into 90s and 2000, wherein computers can actually identify which photos have a lot of skin to cloth ratio, and that's how they used to detect whether the image was or the video was a nude or a provocative video, and that was there. So we can have that technology over there. And the third thing, how technology amplifies, voyeuristic tendency is anonymity. Okay, we don't have faces to the IDs. We don't have names to those faces. So there is a lot of anonymity. I can be anybody. I can be a predator who would be watching your kids video or photographs on social media, and I can be uncaught. I can be some pervert who would be sitting on my screen and watching your profile and videos on a constant loop just to fuel my inner ability, or even if you're not, that tendency has been developed by the platform by giving you those kind of access to people's profile, and that is creating an voyeuristic kind of an environment, and we are really making no efforts towards doing or reducing it. But when it comes to you will say that, okay, we have talked about the problem, what about the what how to mitigate that particular problem, like how to mitigate voracious tendency that has been developed. So it would start with you first, because I think every person is a part of a society, and it start with taking responsibility of your own voyeuristic tendency. And you would say we are not like that, but I would say you are going to develop in that if you are viewing your mobile phone for more than 2.5 hours or 3 hours, because that's how habits are developed. If you're putting your minds to constantly doom scrolling or constantly getting onto reels, that is going to happen. That is just on the way. Okay. So what you can do on individual level actions, or what are the action plans that you can do on individual level so that you can mitigate or reduce this kind of tendencies? First, that you have to have a mindful consumption. Okay. So what you can do, you can reflect on why you are consuming certain content and its impact on your empathy and value. So that is first thing that you can do. So individually we can have a mindful consumption. We can take a log of every week. You can go to your screen time section of your setting, or you can see well-being app into Android and screen time activities on your iPhones, and you can see how much of time you have spent on screen, and out of that time that you have spent, how much of time has given to a social media, and even social media, how much of time you have spent it on maybe Instagram or YouTube. And let me tell you one thing, most of you, Instagram, if you're going on Instagram, definitely it's for reels. Okay. And if you're going on YouTube, might be you are going for YouTube shorts, or maybe a podcast or a long content, but the probability is more of a reel right now, because that is what most of the people are going. 70% of traffic is derived to reels. Second thing that you can do on individual level to mitigate this particular problem is setting boundaries, limiting the time spent observing others on social media and rather interacting with them. I would say if you follow an influencer, if you're following one of your influencer who is there on the Instagram, try and interact with their post. Try to validate what they are saying. Try to get engaged with their particular content. Try to see how it is getting applied, what kind of value they are giving in. But because most of us are just mindlessly scrolling, so if you set a boundary, that is one thing that you can do. You have to interact, be observant about what you're doing, be mindful about it, and engage authentically. Prioritize interaction over passive observation. So prioritize interaction. I think a lot of us have lost the art of how to interact. Most of us are just into that particular observation phase. Even in my channel, if I deliver certain value, I feel like subscriber has to hit that particular subscribe button and have to follow or interact with me, at least ask question, so that I can improve my content. But that content involvement, I think definitely it's supposed to have to derive that value. I'm still learning and reaching to that particular part, and definitely I'm making certain kind of dent. And I feel like I'm addressing certain kind of audience which would be of my thought level or frequency. So that is one thing. But when you are doing at individual level, try to engage authentically. Try to find what is the value, because I'm not here to bash social media. I'm not here to say that Instagram is evil, Facebook is evil. No, the tool itself is at the mercy of the user. It is the tool. Don't. It is not harmful. If you feed anything into the tool as per as your extension of your desire and your cynicism, the tool would operate that way. So if you want to reflect, if you want to see what kind of a person you are, just look into your history log, just look into your timelines, just look at your feeds, what kind of content that is coming up. This shows that what kind of a person you have become. So that is one thing that you can do. Second, that you do on a social change is promote digital literacy. So when you are talking with your with your family members, with your friends, with your kids, try to make them literate about digital literacy. I think teach ethical consumption of online content and respect for privacy. I think this is something that we can respect privacy. If you are exposed to certain kind of private videos or private intimate scenes on Instagram or something, just report it. Just go ahead and report those particular reels or even misinformation that has been propagated or peddled on Instagram. Anything that is sensitive to any caste, religion, or person, you can report it, right? So you can do that. Second is, as a social change that we can do is like encourage empathy. Okay, I think that is the only one thing that would save us as in humanity and can if we have an intent of empathy, definitely that is how we will behave. But if we have intent of getting entertained and getting a shock value and getting a reward out of pleasure reward, whatever you think, I think that is where the intent is not there. So if you go with and encourage empathy and highlight human aspect of those being observed, shift focus from entertainment to connection. What I feel like. So I think even if you're looking at, I know a lot of audience and a lot of many people are attracted towards adult content, and I don't want to give you guilt, but I just want you to see at the background of the dark side of adult industry. Once you are done with your pleasure ride, I think I encourage you to go to the dark side of what is happening in the background. How the world that is pulled in front of you on adult industry is very much rosy, very much curated, dramatized, and it is fit to a fantasy. It is not fit to a reality. So if you want to really see the reality, Mia Khalifa, who has been one of the most famous porn artists, has come up as a whistleblower of how how dark porn industry's practices are. Now you will say that she is doing it for empathy and she's trying to garner a kind of publicity and PR out of that. Now she's out of business and she's not of that age where she would be able to attract audience. But try and understand these things are happening. You can also look for documentaries that are there. I think there is one documentary that you can watch is After Porn. So that also talk about what after once the cameras are off, what happens after that. So that is also an insightful. This is how I would encourage people to garner empathy when it comes to just being, shifting focus from entertaining to connection with those people. As a societal change, I would say support ethical content creation. So not all internet influencers and content creators are looking for shocking or dramatization of their content. Most of the content that you would see on internet are also very value driven. So I want you to subscribe to those particular channel. You can also subscribe to mine. So that is also there. So and the third thing that you can do is how we can do it, a technological solution, what can be there. Okay, so content moderation platform can limit the spread of voyeuristic or exploitative content, and I think that is a far reach kind of a thing because they are there for a business, and this is where. But as a society, if we are the consumer of the content and if we push our boundaries and limits to the platform creators and the content creators, definitely that can also be put into right direction. And then privacy tools are already there. Technological aspect, you can have apps which can limits your time on Instagram or YouTube or whichever fetish that you have of social media that you can get into. And the third thing is like what are the if you are exposed to this, what are the mental issues that are happening? And as I told you earlier, the emotional erosion of empathy is happening a lot. So that is something there. Then we have increased social comparison that is there, low self-esteem, objectification of others, fear of judgment, and privacy loss is something that we are facing a lot. So these are some of the mental conditions that are really springing up because of a lot of content exposure, a lot of voyeurism. When I say voyeurism, it is a habit, it is a mental condition that is happening when social media is concerned, and that is creating a specific on mental health condition that is related to anxiety. So the specific effect of mental health condition that I want to pull out one is anxiety. Most of the people have this heightened fear of social anxiety when they feel that they are recorded, or they are recorded or seen on the internet. That is there, what is there. Second problem with anxiety is the overconsumption of others' life can trigger a feeling of inadequacy and worry about personal achievement. So that is also an important part that is happening. So there is anxiety is one of the specific or special effect of mental wellness which come from voyeurism, and the second is depression. And I don't want to emphasize more on that because it is already very much evident that if you watch a lot of reels, Instagram or Facebook, if you go on the platform, you would never expect to, jump out of joy after the end of, Instagram marathon that you have. You would never feel joyful. You will always feel certain kind of, tension, certain kind of lack, or if I want to put in words, it is like I'm not enough. Would be most of the time the feeling that would be there, or is there something that I'm missing out, or FOMO is there. So that is a very typical feeling that comes. A very few of you might have an exceptional kind of a feeling depending upon how your algorithm is designed or suits your perception, or your preferences of your content that is there. So there would always be an exception. And we have this persistent comparison that is actually amplifying the feeling of worthlessness or low self-esteem, and that is very true. Now, why it is true? Because lot many young Indians, teenager, let it be from millennials and who are into alpha, Gen Alpha, and coming generation would all will be very normalized with the fact that they have to go under plastic surgery, or I would say facial enhancement, what they call as. So, or body enhancement that they call as, because I think that market is also picking up in Korea itself because of voyeurism. uh, Out of 10, you will say it like 6 Koreans or 7 Koreans has at least gone under knife, got their nose job done, got their chin job done, got their double eyelid operation done before their age of 20. And there is a kind of a different kind of you know gifts that youngsters or teenager expect from their child, from their parents during their 18th birthday, is getting a kind of a no job or getting a double eyed kind of surgery. And that is a pretty normal in Korea. People are also taking out loans for that, and India is not also far fetched from that. India is also facing the same issues with when it comes to going under the knife or plastic surgery. It is very rampant, and somewhere this has fueled because of the constant comparison and feeling of worthlessness and low self-esteem. And this has really detached us from the real life interaction, and which is very superficial. We Why right now, being Instagram worthy pictures are becoming the new lingo of everybody who is clicking a photo. It has to be Instagram worthy. Even hotels are designing themselves to be Instagram worthy. Even dishes or decorative part or the aesthetic sense of every aspect of your life have to be Instagram worthy. Even if you go for any event is there, people are far more into that persona of making it Instagram worthy, rather enjoying the moment with your loved one, or a life event. So that is one thing that is actually creating a lot of you know upward comparison when it comes to your own status, and definitely the addictive behavior that is there. Because why? This is actually creating a compulsive mobile phone addiction that is there also, which is one of the new symptom that is coming up. So overconsumption is leading to an addictive pattern wherein individuals are prioritizing voyeuristic behavior over essential life task. And even you would see a lot of generations, and a lot of people from our generations are actually lost in terms of when it comes to life purpose. So there are a lot of issues which are also being pulled up because of addictive behavior, that are specifically mental health conditions which are arising due to voyeurism kind of behavior, which is definitely fueled by the way the social media has been designed. The algorithm is there, And it is a science, even the psychological aspect of human capacity and how we are hardwired. We are easily manipulated by shocking, sensationalizing, and dramatized content, and we glue to it. It's like a rodent who has been addicted to a constant supply of sugary food, and he is consuming just because it has an evolutionary appeal to it. It doesn't have any kind of nutritional value. It is just that it is keeping you hooked, make you feel alert, make you feel alive, and that's what is there. And I think that is what is making you pulled in a direction of burnout and fatigue, because a constant exposure to emotionally intense content, let it be accident or personal tragedy, can lead to mental exhaustion and decrease emotional resilience. Because I feel most of our generation people comparing to the older generation, the depression and the nervousness and the anxiety is far more rampant in our generation. uh, it is not because we are deprived of resources. It is just because we are so much lost in ourselves, and that has really coined up this particular term called as individualism. Now, individualism has become the new lingo that is there. Not a new lingo, as I can say, a lingo of 2 or 3 decades that is there. And individualism has been, hyper individualism has come into play, wherein micro celebrity culture is there, and we are trying to compare ourselves to person who is up in the next ladder. And definitely, we are comparing. We are not getting inspired. We are comparing. And when we compare ourselves, we definitely will find ourselves as not enough. Okay, so that is what is there, and due to which there is a lot of decrease in emotional resilience. We are getting more impulsive because of individualism, because individualism teach us to put ourself, our feeling on the pedestal than the other person, or then rather than on a collective whole. Because when I feel like it is not putting other person on pedestal, but putting your personality as a propagation of certain effects and certain what I can say, cause and effect when you go into society. Because I think when you start reducing consumerism, which is related to individualism, so consumerism, minimalistic lifestyle, being more mindful of content, being more sensitive, being more empathetic, that would actually be a norm of a person who is socially functional. So that is where this is where we have to head to, but we are heading into the opposite direction, which we are making our screen as the only bible and the reflection of our truth. And that is where the problematic area arises. So what I want to really propagate it to this particular episode of BYOB is how we, as in society, are not taking action when it is required. We are more into observers than the action takers. But this can be very much regulated when we have time in our hands, and by doing mindful exercises, by being very conscious about our social media content consumption, that can reduce this voyeurism and we can be human again. I think that is what is the real what I can say. That is what the real crux is of being a human being. Being more human is the only way. Not being not human being, but being more human. So being human is empathy has to be cultivated. We have to be more mindful about the content that we are consuming. We have to connect more rather than being an passive observers. So this is what is today's entire encapsulation of how we can reduce voyeurism into social media, and how we can be a better human being which is functional into society and being more mindful. So I think you can very well take this as a New Year resolution, as we are, approaching to the end of 2024. So in 2025, if you want to be more focused, more empathetic, more emotionally resilient, I want you to take this as a challenge and reduce your screen time and reduce the tendency of overism, what we have discussed in today's episode. And I wish you all the luck. The comment section is open for your any suggestion, or you want to have an in-depth understanding of this particular topic. And I'm always reachable on LinkedIn. My YouTube channel is also there for you to look at other content and take value out of it and give me feedback about how the content works for you. So, see you around for the next episode. And thank you for joining with me. And we'll see you for the next episode of BYOB. Bring your own balance. Thank you so much.